Shabbat Shalom. Israel, Shabbat Shalom. Dawa Dabanya Shala here with a special edition, a Passover edition to the Most High, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. First and foremost, we want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh B'Hashem, Amasiach Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem Rikar Kadash. Special edition, we want to go over the precepts one of the holy days, the most holy days is the Passover of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. And nothing planned. Just want to bring out some precepts. The first precept I'm going to bring out is, let's go to the book of Exodus, Exodus 12. Exodus chapter 12, starting from the top. And it reads, And Yahweh spoke unto Moses in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Read it again. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year. So we know that the Most High commanded so-called month of March, which is the month of Abib in ancient times. The month of Abib is the first month of the year, when everything is refreshed and becomes new. All the flowers are blooming, all the trees are blooming. I mean, it's ridiculous to say that the beginning of the year is in January, so-called January, in the middle of winter, when it's still freezing cold outside. It's ridiculous. Let's go to verse 3. Speak unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. Okay, verse 6. I'm going to be going through it through different precepts. So if you want to, you can follow along. Go to the book of Exodus. Let's go to verse 6. And ye shall take it unto the 14th day, the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So we're going to, on the 10th day, we're going to find an unblemished lamb. It must be a male and in the first year. Okay, you read that in verse 4 and 5. And on the 10th day, we're going to take the lamb, and on the 14th day at eve, we're going to kill, the Israelites are going to kill that lamb, and they're going to sacrifice it to Yahweh, B'Hashem Amasiach Yahweh Shai, during the Passover. Let's drop down to verse 8. And they shall eat the flesh, and that night roast with fire, and unleavened bread with bitter herbs they shall eat it. So again, that lamb is going to be cooked under fire. Can be boiled, it can be baked, it has to be under fire. Okay? Verse 9, Eat it not raw, not sodden all with water. Again, no boiling, but roast with fire. Verse 10, And ye shall let nothing of it remain unto the morning, and that which remaineth of it unto the morning ye shall burn with fire. So during the Passover, the holy day, there were no take-home bags, no leftover bags. Whatever is left of the lamb and unleavened bread, you're going to burn with fire. Point blank and period. Let's go to verse 12, Exodus 12 and 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both male and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am Yahweh. Point blank and period. We all know that they took the blood, the lamb leg, and hit it against the pillars or the walls of the dwelling, so that the angels of death will know that the Israelites are there keeping the Passover. And the angels of death will bypass it. That's why they call it the Passover. So that death and destruction will pass over the homes of the Israelites. Verse 13 is self-explanatory. And the blood shall be unto you a token unto your house where ye are. When I see the blood, I will pass over, and all the plagues shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. Point blank and period. Exodus 12 and 14, And this day shall be for you a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to Yahweh throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it as a feast of ordinance forever, meaning the law forever. People say the laws are done away with. Chapter and verse. Show me the chapter and verse that the laws are done away with. Verse 15, 7 days ye shall eat unleavened bread, but the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day unto the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. Read it again. It's a very important point. 7 days ye shall eat unleavened bread. That's the feast of unleavened bread. It's for 7 days. Okay, the first day is a Shabbat, and the 7th day is a Shabbat. Well, the days in between the first and the 7th days are feast days. Okay? And ye shall put away the leaven out of your house. Whosoever eats of leavened bread from the first day unto the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off. Verse 16 is the first day shall be a holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation. I just covered that. The first day is a Shabbat, holy convocation, day of rest, and the 7th day is a holy convocation, a Shabbat, the day of rest. Same way you would carry on a Sabbath. No work, no kindling of fire in your home, no buying and selling. So doing none of your own pleasures, but focus on the day, on either the word and the scriptures and in the word of the Most High. Verse 17, and ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for it in itself day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by ordinance forever. I mean, it says here an ordinance forever, law forever. This law is not done away with. Verse 18, the first day of Salakia, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at Eve, which we right now, at Eve, the 14th day would be technically the Passover right now. The 14th day of the first month, at Eve, ye shall eat unleavened bread until 1 and the 20th day, until 1 and the 20th day of the month at Eve. So you're going to eat it from the 14th day to the 21st day. That's 7 days. You're going to eat unleavened bread. Verse 19, 7 days there shall be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever, again, it repeats itself, for whosoever eateth that which is leaven, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether be a stranger or born in the land. That's what the Most High says. Ye shall, verse 20, ye shall eat nothing leavened in your habitations. Shall ye eat unleavened bread. That's all you're going to eat for 7 days. You're going to make a meat offering, a drink offering, meat offering, and a burnt offering to Yahweh during the Passover ceremony and the Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days. Again, the first day is a Shabbat, and the 7th day is a Shabbat. Okay, let's drop down to 23. Exodus 12 and 23. For Yahweh will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel or on the two sides of the post, Yahweh will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come into your house to smite you. Like I said, we will take the lamb and splatter the blood on the outside, the pillars or the outside of your dwelling, so that the death angels know that you know that you're keeping the Passover of the Most High, and the angel of death will pass over you. Verse 24, and ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. I'm going to read it again. Exodus 12 and 24. And ye shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and thy sons forever. It never ends. We're supposed to be keeping this Passover ceremony through our captivity until and rehearse the righteous acts until we make the kingdom of the Most High, which we know we're going to have to keep all these holy days of the Most High. Verse 25, Exodus 12 and 25, and it shall come to pass when ye be come to the land which Yahweh will give you. That's what I just said. Once we get to the kingdom, according to he has promised, that ye shall keep this service. I just said that. When we get to the kingdom, we're rehearsing the righteous acts here in our captivity, but when we reach the kingdom, we're going to know that we're supposed to keep the holy Passover for an ordinance forever. Point blank and period. Verse 12 and 26, and it shall come to pass when your children say unto you, what means ye by this service? Verse 26, and when your children ask you, why are we keeping the so-called Passover? You understand and you can explain to them that it was a time that Yahweh, Bashima Mashiach Yahushai, cast judgment against the Egyptians and killed the firstborn and sent all the plagues to the land, and you can explain it to your children. Okay, I'm reading it again. Exodus 12 and 26. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what means ye by this service? You can explain that, he sent out the angels of death to destroy the Egyptians, the firstborn Egyptians, and by splattering the blood on the outside of your dwelling, the pillars and the walls of your dwelling, the angel of death will pass over, meaning the Passover of your dwelling, and they won't smite you or give you the plagues that are in this Bible. Let's cover some of the plagues real quick. Let me see. I'm gonna start at Exodus 7 verse 10. Exodus 7 and verse 10 reads, and Moses and Aaron went unto Pharaoh, and they did so as Yahweh had commanded. And Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and before his servants, and it became a serpent. That's the first plague that the first miracle that the Most High was to turn his rod, his staff, into a serpent. Okay, I'm just going to cover some of the plagues. Let's go to the 17th verse. This is when he turns the water to blood. Exodus 7 and 17. Thus saith Yahweh, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in my hand upon the waters which are in the rivers, and they shall be turned to blood. Read it again. Exodus 7 and 17. Thus saith Yahweh, in this thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Behold, I will smite the rod that's in my hand upon the waters which are in the rivers, and they shall be turned to blood. That's when he turned the waters of the river to blood. Another plague. Let's go to Exodus the 8th chapter, starting with the 3rd verse. Exodus 8 and 3 reads, and the river shall bring forth frogs abundantly, which shall go up and come into thine house, and into thy bed chambers, and upon thy bed, and into the house of the servants, and upon thy people, and it into thine ovens, and into thine kneading troughs. Verse 4, and the frog shall come up on both, and upon thy people, and upon thy servants. That's the plagues of the frogs. Okay, that was given to the Egyptians. Let's continue. Exodus 8 and verse 16. We're going to talk about lice, the plague of lice. Exodus 8 and 16. And Yahweh said unto Moses, say unto Aaron, stretch out thy rod and smite the dust of the land, that it may become lice throughout the land of Egypt. Another plague, which is the lice. Exodus 8 and 16. Let's go to Exodus 8 and 24. And Yahweh did so, and there came a grievous swarm of flies into the house of Pharaoh, and into his servant's house, and into all the land of Egypt. The land was corrupt by reason of the swarm of flies. That was the plague of the flies. The flies were to destroy the Egyptians, their homes. Okay, let's continue. Just covering the plagues. You can read it on your own in Exodus, the 8th, 9th, 10th chapters. Let's go to Exodus 9. Starting from the top. Then Yahweh said unto Moses, go into Pharaoh and tell him, thus saith Yahweh thy power of the Hebrews, which he pointed out the Hebrews, let my people go, that they may serve me. For if thou refuse to let them go, will hold them still. Verse 3, behold, the hand of Yahweh is upon thy cattle which is in the field, upon the horses, upon the asses, upon the camels, upon the oxen, upon the sheep. They shall be very grievous murrain. He killed the cattle of the Egyptians. If Pharaoh still held on to Israel during the first Exodus. Okay, so we cover the lice, the turning the water into blood, the flies, turning the staff into a serpent, killing the cattle. Let's go to Exodus 9 and the 11th verse. 9 and 11. And the magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils, For the boils were upon the magicians and upon all the Egyptians. Skin boils were coming out on all the Egyptians. That's the plagues of the boils. Just covering all the plagues that were done to Israel, because the Most High says that this land will get the plagues as Egypt as before, and we're going to continue and cover that. Let's drop down to all right, we cover the boils. Let's go to Exodus 9 and 23. And Moses stretched forth his rod towards the heaven, and the Yahweh sent thunder and hail, and fire ran along upon the ground, and Yahweh rained hail upon the land of Egypt. Verse 24, 9 and 24. So there was hail and fire mingled with hail, very grievous, such that there was none like it in the land of Egypt since it became a nation. 25, Exodus 9 and 25. And the hail smote throughout the land of Egypt, that all the fields, both man, beasts, and the hail smote every herb of the field, and break every tree of the field. I mean, all the thunder, fire, and hail coming from the Most High. That was a plague. Let's go to Exodus 10, the 10th chapter, starting with the 3rd verse. And Moses and Aaron came unto Pharaoh, and said unto him, Thus saith Yahweh thy power of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if verse 4, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow will I bring the locust into thy coast. And as you see, I'm bringing this particular, the Most High cast of the locust out in Africa, Saudi Arabia, and a couple other countries as we speak, tearing up their herbs, and that'll be the beginning of famine, because they won't be able to have any crops, which Yahweh commanded the locusts to kill all their herbs and crops and so forth. This is why I'm reading this, okay? So now we cover the locusts. Let's go to Exodus 10, starting with the 22nd verse. Exodus 10 and 22 reads, And Moses stretched forth his hand towards the heaven, and there was a thick darkness in the land of Egypt 3 days. 3 days. Verse 23, 10 and 23, they saw not one another rose any from the palace for 3 days. Okay, so nobody saw anything. It was pitch black for 3 days. I'm going to continue verse 23. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. All praise and glory to Yahweh B'Shem HaMashiach Yahushua. Same thing as the Passover, that the angel of death will pass over the houses of Israel. As you see, he created darkness for 3 days in the land of Egypt, but every dwelling of the Israelites had light. How graceful and merciful is Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Just covering some of the plagues. Let's go to the 11th, Exodus 11, chapter, starting with the 5th verse. And all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon their throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of the beasts. Again, this is the plague of the firstborn. He killed the firstborn of all the Egyptians because he failed to hearken and let his people go. That's during the first Exodus. Right now, we know that the Most High and the King of Kings, Lords of Lords, who this world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ, is coming to make his second coming, his second Exodus. Point blank and period. And I can prove that. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. The book of Isaiah, starting with the 11th verse. Isaiah 11 and 11. Isaiah 11 and 11 reads, And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hands again a second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, from Shinar, from Hamas, and from the islands of the sea. So this proves that the Most High is making his second coming. There's going to be a second Exodus. Okay? Second Exodus. Point blank and period. That's why he's casting judgment on this land now with this coronavirus. And we're just at the beginning sorrow. It's going to get worse every single day. The prophecies are going to unravel right in front of our eyes. Thus saith the Lord, thus saith the Bible. Okay, so we covered some of the plagues from the past. At the ancient times, I covered that the Most High is coming for a second coming on this holy day, the Passover. He's making a second coming to redeem his people, not everybody, his people. Let's go back to the book of Exodus. Let's find out who are his people. Scripturally, let's go to Exodus 3, starting with the 10th verse. Exodus 3 and 10 reads, Come now therefore, and I will send thee upon Pharaoh, that thou may bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. I'm going to read it again. Who are the Most High's people? Exodus 3 and 10. Read it for yourself. Exodus 3 and 10 reads, Come now therefore, and I will send thee upon Pharaoh, that thou may bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. Point blank and period. During the first Exodus, people have this thing, not understanding the scriptures and erring with the scriptures. Let's go to Exodus 14:29. Let's get this thing clear. Exodus 14:29. And it reads, But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on the right hand and on the left. So when Moses lifted up his staff and the Red Sea parted, there was water on both sides. The Israelites, the children of Israel, walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea. There were no other nations present. It was all the children of Israel, point blank and period. If you think that there's other nations, you're adding to the scriptures. Go to the last chapter of the Bible in Revelation and see what happens to you if you add or diminish anything from these scriptures. Okay, I'm going to read it again. Exodus 14 and 29. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and waters were right unto them on the right hand and on the left. Point blank and period. It was only Israelites crossing. It was only Israelites with Moses during the first Exodus that were redeemed from the land of Egypt. Again, I just wanted to bring out these precepts on this holy day, the Passover. As we see right now, the Most High is casting judgment against this wicked land. And this is just the beginning. So you need to hearken. Oh, Salaki, let me get one more precept. One more precept. Let's go into the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha in the Law's books. Apocrypha, just to prove. And Apocrypha, 2nd Esdras 15. And I'm going to start at the 11th verse. 2nd Esdras 15 and 11. And it reads, But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. I'm going to read it again because it sounds so sweet, and we see it happening right now. All the plagues I read in the first Exodus, this precept brings it to light. 2nd Esdras 15 and 11. But I will bring them a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before. As when before the first Exodus that I just covered. So we know that the Most High is casting judgment and plagues out here. The coronavirus is the plague of the Most High. The locust, he already struck the land of so-called Egypt, Africa, Saudi Arabia, some other lands, okay? And will destroy all the land thereof. 2nd Esdras 15 and 12. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and the punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. You can't make this up. 2nd Esdras 15, verse 11 and 12. Read it for yourself. This is a brief sit down covering the holy day, the Passover, which is the 14th day of the first month, this month of Bib. Right now, as we speak, so-called month of March, the 14th day. First day is Holy Convocation. for 7 days. That's when we celebrate the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You eat unleavened bread for 7 days. You make a drink offering, a burnt offering, and a meat offering to the Most High Yahweh B'Shem HaMashiach Yahweh Shai. I hope that was edifying. I would advise you, all of you Israelites, get into the scriptures, meditate day and night, like it says in Joshua 1 and 18. Meditate day and night on the scriptures. And Shabbat Shalom. With that, I say Shalom.